today. So people, let's get started with our chat about this current 8th day of lockdown. I don't know for you, but for me, so much has changed in the last 8 days that there are moments that I feel completely fine with everything that's going on. And at other times, I'm nearly dazed by how everything is changing, by how quickly things are posted on Twitter, on Facebook, how much is expected of me, not only as mother, as wife, and as therapist. So I have been riding a bit of a roller coaster ride here in a few days in getting myself organized and adapting to this new normal. And at one point, I must be honest, I found that I got a little bit panicky. I looked up the definition for panic, and it said it's a sudden and uncontrollable fear or anxiety. And I don't know about you, please write me a comment or two, but I have caught myself in quite a slight panicky mode, thinking about the reality of what is going on at the moment. And for me, the panic stems from things. The first one, loss of income, because as we enter day 8 now, I'm sure most of you have seen a significant drop in your income. And also just health concerns, making sure that everybody in my family stays healthy, making sure that I stay healthy. So it has resulted in a few moments of panic. I've also been noticing over the last few days, I have been on social media a lot more than normal, not as a solution institute, but just trying to find more information, constantly looking at the breaking news. And as this crisis became more of a reality, it felt as though I was constantly on social media. Geza, the comments are popping up. What are people saying?
It's just welcoming everybody and saying thank you to you for the opportunity for them to join you today. And then we have a comment here. The day before the lockdown was definitely a big panic moment for me as well. It's good to hear I'm not alone.
Absolutely, absolutely. I even looked at a Facebook page for psychologists. It was a referral page, and one therapist made a comment that she felt completely overwhelmed. And as I was asking other therapists for some ideas on how to cope, and as I read this, I too realized I'm not alone. You know, we are not alone. We are currently facing one of the biggest changes ever. And I think a lot of us are feeling the same feelings. So as I was reading this, I decided I need to start re-remembering my training. A lot of you online today have done some solution-focused work with me before. You all know what the basic tenets of solution-focused thinking is. But somehow, when we get completely overwhelmed by our own personal crises, it's as if we forget to be solution focused in our own lives, and we tend to become panda bears that get caught up in this pandemic, that get completely carried away and turn into what I have called pandemologists. Those of you that know me know that I like to play with words. So I decided that I really have to stop all of this and get out of a pandemologist victim mentality and start becoming a solution-focused resilientologist. And for me, I felt that it was time that I started practicing what I preach at home as well. I must admit, I am not naturally an optimistic, positive person. Solution-focused thinking and solution-focused theory has always been something that saves my life. It's been a complete lifesaver for me. And it's always created that counterbalance of becoming more, forcing me to become more positive, forcing me to look at things in a different way. So I decided it is time for me to practice what I preach here in my own home, not only as a therapist, but as a mother, as a wife, and become a resilientologist and start looking and finding resilience and coping strategies so that I can cope with what is going on at the moment. So I just before I carry on, I'm just switching off everybody's video, but I have although I think we can leave the videos on, Geza. If anybody wants to switch the videos off, they can do it by themselves. There is an option at the bottom of your screen where you can stop your own video. But if you're willing to put your video and share your face with us, that would be really great. Okay, so as I said, I decided to become a resilientologist. So my best hope for today is that in this chat, we can share some ideas on how to become more solution-focused in our own homes. My best hope is to ask all of you some fantastic, magical solution-focused questions that will help you cope better and stretch your brain a little bit into coping with the current crises and help you to build a bridge and get over the current hurdle and bounce back better when once we are through with this crisis. So most of you know that solution-focused therapy is a model of questions, right? We ask questions to change the direction of the session. We ask questions to stretch somebody's view. We ask questions to elicit another way of thinking. And as I was preparing for this chat, I remembered what Ben Furman had to say about solution-focused questions. And I thought I'd just share this little video with you so that you can take a listen to what Ben had to say about the magic of solution-focused questions.
What does it mean? Useful question.
I would like to define it as like when people come to therapy or coaching, they feel like, I have a difficult problem, I don't know what to do about it. I tried this and I tried that and nothing works. They feel like a little bit stuck with the problem. But if you ask them a good question, they start to change their mind. They go like, oh, maybe I'm not so stuck with the problem. Oh, maybe I have some ideas. Oh, maybe I could do that. They become creative. And that could be one way of defining it. You could say there is only one reason why people have problems. They lost their creativity. And your job is to get them to become creative again. That's one way of saying it. So if you ask good questions, like, for example, I ask you, what did you do that worked sometimes? And you say, well, I tried this, but it didn't work every time, but sometimes it worked. And I go like, wow, that's a great idea. How did you come up with that idea? It's a simple question. How did you come up with that idea? And you start to think, well, how did I come up with that idea? And then maybe you say, I learned it from my grandmother. Oh, so you have a grandmother who had many good ideas. So I'm asking you questions, but the questions are strategic. Mm-hmm. They are not just questions, let's talk about this in any way we like. I'm trying to find useful questions that I think could be useful to you.
So I love what Ben Furman has to say about in times of crisis, when we feel stuck, it's as if we've lost our creativity. And part of coping, part of managing, part of getting back and bouncing back better is to not lose sight of our creativity. DeShazer was just mentioning here that there are some incredible comments coming through where people are saying we need to remind ourselves that we are able to manage. We can self-regulate. Somebody else was mentioning that she has found it most useful to stop listening to too much social media, to just watch out for all the fake news and just step back a bit, step away from it all. Somebody else has said they have found this time a very positive opportunity to refocus on family. You know, we're all so busy as therapists, we're also busy looking after other people. We often forget the people in our own homes. So to refocus on our family is definitely one way of coping. Somebody else mentioned with a smiley face, it is the time to increase our OCD by washing our hands compulsively. Somebody else said, maybe this is the time to let us all get out of our comfort zones and start playing with more online sessions and utilizing the internet a little bit more. Absolutely. So in order for us to build better coping strategies, I think we need to be mindful of the questions we ask ourselves and our family and our clients. As Ben was saying, we need to ask better questions, more useful questions to rewire our brains and create a new way of talking, thinking, and doing. Again, I was preparing for this chat. I came across a family therapist in the US called Emma McAdam, and she has a whole program about rewiring the anxious brain. And I just cut a bit out of her video for you to just hear what she has to say about the ability of the brain to rewire. And I think this crisis is an incredibly good opportunity for all of us to rewire our brains and start doing things differently. So take a listen to what she has to say.
So here's the amazing thing about your brain. It's made to rewire itself all the time. This is called neuroplasticity. Scientists used to think that after childhood, our brain was pretty much locked in place. But now that we have better imaging technology, we can literally see how the brain changes depending on how we use it. So let's start off with one example of neuroplasticity. In London, the taxi drivers have this super difficult exam where they have to prepare by memorizing all the streets and events and locations in this huge city. Researchers took images of their brain before they started studying and after this 2-year process, and they were literally able to see the new neural connections, the wiring that changed in the brain. And there's good evidence that changing how you think, like going to therapy, can actually change the structure of your brain and the types of chemicals that it's pumping out. Our brain has an amazing ability to rewire itself, to learn, grow, and heal.
Right, so learn, grow, and heal. We have this incredible ability to rewire, to change the mindset, to move into a new way of thinking. And I believe that solution-focused questions creates what Mark McCurgo calls brain stretching. I've been incredibly privileged to be a reviewer on a new book that Mark McCurgo has just written, and it's called From Shrinks to Stretchers. We're all known as shrinks, and McCurgo says solution-focused questions allows us to stretch the client's worldview, stretch the person's way of thinking about themselves. And it's time we use this. I think it's time we use this concept on ourselves. It's time for some brain stretching. It's time to stretch our worldview into thinking about coping, thinking about doing things differently. So what is resonating with you in terms of what I've been saying so far? Type up a comment or two. Let Geza read the comments while I carry on with the presentation so that we can give you some feedback. Keep this nice and interactive. So what, of everything I've mentioned so far, what sticks for you? What is interesting? What are you finding useful? Because, you know, the founder or the first solution-focused theorist, Steve DeShazer, he said, where you stand determines what you see and what you don't see. It determines the angle you see it from. So if you want to cope better, I'm going to invite you to change the angle you are viewing things from. Changing and shifting our angle creates coping. It creates better ways of doing. I'm not saying that every cloud has a silver lining. I'm not trying to minimize the harsh effects that this pandemic is having on the world. However, I'm saying if you shift the way you look at it, if you ask yourself different questions, you will definitely cope better. And not only cope better now, but cope better with what is to come. In one of the books I wrote in 2018 with Elliot Connie and Adam Frower, Elliot wrote that we need to shift our focus away from problems, and especially we need to shift our focus away from focusing constantly on the crises. And we need to start focusing and shifting our attention to strengths. He talks about shifting to the client's strengths, but I'm saying in today's chat, you need to shift your focus to your own strengths. You need to shift your focus towards the strengths of your family, the strengths of our country. We need to shift our focus towards our own capacity for change and towards hopefulness. For me, when you shift your focus, you cope, because the harsh reality is there are still a lot more challenges ahead. There are going to be a lot more things we cope with, deal with, or get accustomed to. So shifting your focus towards your own strengths helps you to get out of a victim mentality. And it also allows you to let solution-focused thinking become part of your lived reality. It makes, not only do we do it to our clients, we become it. And if the crisis has taught me one thing, as I said earlier, it's to practice what I preach and become solution-focused in everything, and to invite solution-focused questions and thinking into my home, and invite resilience into my house, to build resilience for myself and my children. Geza, what is resonating with people? What are they mentioning?
There's lots of comments coming through. I'm trying to keep on top of them all. There's several comments coming through. One was that with online interactions, you're able to keep a sense of normalcy and connection with people. So even though you are socially isolating through social media or Skype or Zoom, there's no reason why you can't stay engaged with people on a one-to-one basis. And often that's a lot better than just doing messaging. Also, just try to remember that where you have the opportunity, it's great to get outdoors. Although we're isolating at home, if you have the opportunity, try and focus on spending some time outside. Don't feel you need to be stuck indoors the whole time. And a good thing to do, another comment that came through, is make a list of the things that you're grateful for in this time of confusion. And focus on the moments of lightness, because there are always upsides and brighter opportunities or moments that do exist in every day. A very nice comment that came through is just have some gratitude and thought for a number of medical staff and all the other people that we don't really see that are working through in the clinics and assisting through this pandemic. There's another comment, what can I learn from in this new normal? There's a lot of comments in the news about the new normal. So is it a temporary adjustment, or is this becoming very possibly a new normal, a different way to engage with people and to do business?
And somebody was saying they like the idea of mind stretching and that we are becoming shape shifters. Or as Evan George, one of the founding members of Brief in the UK, says, it's our job to be attention shifters. But that means if we want to invite solution-focused thinking into our own homes and own lives, we too need to become attention shifters for ourselves. So I've summarized it here for us a little bit. What does becoming a resilientologist really mean? These are just a few ideas. I'm sure you have a lot more to add. But for me, it's about, I don't know if you heard the Hardy-Daws here in Johannesburg. They are everywhere. About 4 years ago, when Elliot Connie was here and he presented a workshop, a Hardy-Daw made a very loud call outside the room he was presenting, and Elliot got the fright of his life and now refers to Hardy-Daws as the unholy bird. So the unholy bird has just flown over our home here in Joburg. So just to get back to what does it mean to be a resilientologist? I think we need to start viewing this change as a challenge and as an opportunity. And we've got to start asking ourselves, how can I do that? We also need to be realistic and start saying to ourselves, what can we control and what is out of our control? And what we cannot control, we need to let go of and focus on the things we can control. We need to start searching for our past successes. We're going to look at that in a moment or two. We also need to start utilizing what we've got. You've got what you've got, so start using that. Forget about longing for what you don't have anymore, what isn't part of your new normal. Use what you've got. I think we must start setting goals. This is not a time to not set goals. I personally think this is the time to dig deeper and perhaps change our goals, readjust our goals. For me, having a sense of humor and playing around with words and finding the funny has always built my resilient spirit. I also think becoming a resilientologist means we have to be patient and tolerant of all our negative feelings. We're going to have funny negative feelings right now, and it's okay. We need to be patient and tolerant. It's okay to have them. I just think we need to watch out that we don't stay in them for the whole lockdown. We also need to adapt to change and have faith and hopefulness about how things can change for the better. So people, what I've decided to do for the rest of our chat, I did say it's a chat on how to cope. So as I always do when I lecture face-to-face, I have activities, a little activity to do. So for the rest of this half an hour, I'd like you to invite you to do an activity with me. That's why I asked you to get a pen and paper ready. Obviously, you don't have to do this, but I found it extremely helpful doing it myself last night as I was preparing. I'm going to ask you a few solution-focused questions in the next half an hour. So what I'd like you to do is find a piece of paper and just draw a circle in the middle. It doesn't have to be as big as this circle. And then please try and put 12 little circles around your center circle. I'm going to ask you questions, and then I'd like you to fill in your answers inside the circles. So just make them big enough so that you can write a word or two in each circle. So at the end of the day, they're going to be 13 circles, the middle one, and then 12 circles all around your center circle. My best hope is that once you've filled in your little circular drawing, which does look a bit like the coronavirus now that I look at it. But I'm trying to help you create an antidote, your own antivirus, on a piece of paper, which represents your coping strategies. So once you've done that, I'd like to ask you some pertinent solution-focused questions to stretch your mind and to create some, what did somebody write here, Geza? To create some shape-shifting into resilientologists that cope. As I was, most of you also know, I am on Twitter, and I follow a few people on Twitter. And a few years ago, I came across a young man called Henry Fraser, a young British rugby player that went on holiday and dived into the sea and subsequently broke his neck and was paralyzed from the neck down. Henry is now a mouth painter and also wrote a book called The Little Big Things. And I absolutely loved that title because it's the little things that we do that create big things later. It goes back to what Insu Kim Berg said. It's in the ordinary that the extraordinary lies. So today we're going to look at the little things you are already doing to cope, the little things you want to change, and as we add up all the little things become little big things. So Henry's big motto in his book is the whole concept of adapt and change. So one of the things I feel is important in coping and becoming a resilientologist is finding ways to accept and adapt to change. Accept what is happening and become really flexible to adapt to the new normal. So I'm going to ask you two questions now, and I'd like you to answer them for yourself. And as you answer each question, write your answer in one of your circles. So here is my first two solution-focused questions to you. I'd like to know, what small things have you done in the last week to help your family adapt to lockdown, or to help yourself adapt to lockdown? I also want to know, what are you currently getting right that you never ever thought you'd be able to do? What are you currently getting right that you never thought you'd be able to do? So write your two answers in the two little blocks. And please, I'd like to invite some of you to share and tell us what you've done to adapt, to accept and adapt. Give us a few ideas of what you have done. Geza will be reading those. I'm just to give him some time to see what everybody's commenting. I'm going to tell you what I've done to accept what's been happening and to adapt. For me, my sons are still busy with online schooling, and this was a really big thing to adapt to. So for me, I set up, I created a lovely desk space for each boy, made sure that at least it was tidy, that they can write and learn. So it's something very small, but I created a nice workspace for my kids. And then I also, the other thing I did to accept and adapt is I've worked on creating quite a routine for us in our family at the moment. We go to school at 7:30, we have break at 10. So just to set a bit of a routine for my kids has been a way that I've accepted this situation and adapted. Geza, what are people saying?
Same like as you've just said, to establish a routine for myself and for the family, which has created a sense of predictability and normalcy for everybody. I'm getting a balance in my life, right? So it's adjusting and then finding, I guess, what would be the new balance, the new normal.
Cool.
Another comment is, it's incredible that I'm not getting cross at those around me. I don't think I have been this relaxed in years.
Yahoo!
Zoom, Skype, and online therapy.
Yep.
Entertaining my children, getting through their schoolwork and managing to do some work, some in capitals.
Yes, isn't that incredible that we can now do work whilst doing a biology project at the same time? What else?
Patience, love, spring cleaning, and learning how to do online teaching sessions.
Absolutely. Lots of new acceptance and lots of new adaptations to the new normal. Then another thing that I believe we need to start making part of our lived reality as we cope with the coronavirus and the lockdown is we need to start looking at our past successes. We need to start really being honest with ourselves about what we have been able to accomplish in the past. Finding our past successes and our past coping strategies helps us to cope with this current situation. So let's create some attention shifting and look back to your past coping. And again, in two of the other little circles, I'd like you to answer the following two questions. How have you coped with difficulties in the past? We've all had some form of difficulty we've had to get through. Some of us big ones, some of us smaller difficulties, but life throws curveballs. So how have you coped with difficulties in the past? Second question, what quality within yourself did you rely on to get through these difficult times? So what quality there deep inside of yourself did you have to rely on to get through a difficult time? I know this is quite personal, but please, if you're willing to share, chat to us. How have you coped in the past? And what quality do you rely on to get through tough times? Just to give DeShazer some time, I thought I'd share with you what I've done. 7 years ago, DeShazer got retrenched, and the difficulty we as a family had to face is that we went from a two income generating household to a one income. And I felt that this was a huge burden on me to hold it all together. So in preparation for this workshop, I actually sat down and thought, but what did I do? I mean, how did I get over that panic when I realized it's all up to me? I think the first thing I did is I gave myself time to panic. I really let rip and had a good panic. And then I told myself to pick up my, pull up your big old panties, Jackie, and do something. So I spoke loudly to myself, pulled up my brookies and started making a list of all my strengths and started making a plan. So I give myself time to get over that. Then I pull myself together and then I start making lists and plans. DeShazer, what do other people do?
So there's lots coming through.
I can see it, it's running here.
I won't be able to go through all of them, but the couple of the points I've picked up are to try to establish a routine. A very good one is to respect each other's boundaries. It's a home environment for us, and it's become a work environment as well. So try to be very respectful of each other's boundaries. Quite a few comments coming through about music. You are at home, so let your hair down, relax, enjoy some music in your own time or with the family. Another important one that came through is do not over-parent. You're now a parent and a teacher possibly as well if your kids are doing any online schooling, so try not to over-parent, let them do their work in their time and their space. Think out of the box. It's a new environment, so do a lot of out-of-the-box thinking. But equally to that, do not overthink everything as well. Try to make sure you find a balance. And look for possible concealed gifts in this situation that we're finding ourselves in. What opportunities are presented and new ideas in your life and in work that you can identify to work on.
Cool.
And a very critical one, very important, is maintain a sense of humor.
Awesome. So, another essential solution-focused principle that I think we need to implement on ourselves in this time is to search for strengths. Solution-focused thinking is all about strength searching. It's a strength-based theory. And in order to become a resilientologist, we need to look inside. We need to find our own strengths. And we need to be courageous enough to say it out loud, to admit our strengths so that we can use our strengths. So after a week of lockdown, what are you most proud of doing? What strength have you been showing? And again, write down 2 strengths in 2 of these little circles for yourself. Ask yourself, looking back at this first week, what has been your finest hour? What did you realize? What did you notice about yourself that you think was your finest moment in the last week? I have been watching a lot of online series in terms of solution-focused thinking, and it's incredible how many people write that in this time they are remembering things about themselves. People are starting to cook again. They used to love cooking. Now they forgot, they were too busy to cook. Now they're cooking again. People are listening to music again. So what have you noticed about yourself? What strength have you perhaps rediscovered? So write 2 of your strengths that you have noticed in the last week down in 2 of those little circles. For me, the strengths I've noticed about myself in this time, I'm actually really funny. And I like having a sense of humor. The other thing I've noticed about myself is that I do not stop working. It might be a good or a bad thing, but it's a strength. I keep going. I just keep it up. And I believe that every little drop into the bucket is a drop that wasn't there yesterday. Something my mom always told me. Everything you do today is a drop in the bucket that wasn't there yesterday. So just keep doing it, keep going. Here's a strengths that people are sharing. What are people saying? What are the strengths they've noticed about themselves?
Okay, so a lot of comments that are coming through are to be rational, possibly not to overthink or overanalyze everything, keep it in check, keep it balanced. Remember that even though you may feel you're alone or only with your family, everybody is in this together. A very valid one that came through is to trust yourself.
Awesome.
To also know that I can slow down. It's okay to time out sometimes as well, because you can feel a bit stuck that you need to continuously be with clients or working the whole time. It is still your house and there is a time to slow down.
Awesome.
Resilience is another one that's come through. I'm a lot more organized than I previously thought. It was quite a surprise, somebody has just said. Believe in yourself and that you can adapt. Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's surprising to discover and rediscover elements of ourselves. It's exciting. Another solution-focused principle that we always do with our clients, but we sometimes forget to do it on ourselves, is to set small, tiny little goals, to take small steps, to take small coping steps, because as solution-focused practitioners, we believe that small change leads to bigger change. So let's set some small coping goals, small steps that we can take right now, day 8, that will help us to get to day 9, day 10, and so on. So what do you hope? Let's look at some questions that will elicit small steps. And again, write down 2 goals that you might have for yourself in the next few days. So here are some questions that you can play with in order to answer the goaling question. What do you hope your family, or for those of you that are still seeing clients, or your clients notice about you in these times of crisis? What do you want them to notice about you? Another goaling question, what is currently working for you right now? What are you currently doing that is working for you that you want to continue to do? So what is working and what do you want to continue to see happening, taking small steps, small, everyday, realistic steps? Write down 2 things, and for those of you that are prepared to share, please share some of the comments with me. What are you doing to cope? What small steps are you taking? And what do you want to keep doing over the next few days? And as the days turn into a 21-day cycle, what are you doing to cope? Are they giving us some coping there? What small steps are people taking?
People are, the comments that are coming through is to believe in yourself.
Keep doing it.
To know that you are and that you can be adaptable. And also just to remember that this is a time that will pass. As much as it is a lockdown and still in the early stages, it will pass. Identify and utilize your multitasking skills. We all have them, and it's really just a matter of finding them and putting them into practice. And a comment that came through is for people to know that I can be relied on. So that would apply to family as well as to clients, that you are available for people to chat with.
And in a time of crisis, we want people to know that we can be relied on. We are strong. And those are things we'd like to continue to see happening. And then nearing the end of our workshop, I need to go a little bit faster. Utilization, to use the utilization principle. Bottom line, people, what is currently biting you on the nose that gives you ideas that you want to see continue happening? What do you want to continue doing? It's kind of the same question as that we've asked before, but I'm asking this question to help you utilize ideas of coping. So after a week of lockdown, what has made it easier for you? And perhaps as business people whose practices are suddenly so much smaller, who's had a significant loss of income, how can you utilize this time and things happening around you at the moment to grow your business? I mean, we could use time to grow the time we have available now to do research, for example, to grow our business, to write that brochure we've always wanted to write, to actually go sit down and write a workshop. What ideas have you been coming up with in the last few weeks that you want to actually see happening, see become a reality? So how can you use this time to benefit your business? My friend Michael Jordan tweeted the other day and he said, never waste a good crisis. So think about how can you utilize this time to benefit your business? And just pop down 2 ideas on your coping circle, things that you can do right now to cope. So to use what you've got and to turn it into something else. Any ideas coming through?
So move into telecoaching or Zoom or Skype. It doesn't have to be face-to-face. It can be a voice-only session. utilize the time to read SF books or any other therapy books that you're interested in. Stay positive, keep the balance, keep yourself in check, and try to keep a sense of a consistency or normalcy throughout the day.
And I see somebody's taking this time to work on their PhD as well. Absolutely. You get what you get, so use it. And then lastly, gratitude. You all know the positive psychologists say that practicing gratitude can up your happiness with a significant percentage. I think it's something like 40% of your happiness can be adjusted by being more grateful. So in the last two blocks, or they're not blocks, sorry, the last two circles, write down 2 things that you are really eternally grateful for at the moment. 2 things that you can really say you are deeply and profoundly grateful for in this time of crisis. For me, I am eternally grateful for the ability to be in a business with my husband, to work with him. I mean, it's so great sitting here at our dining room table working together. I'm eternally grateful for his knowledge of computers, which allows me to do all the things I enjoy doing. And I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that I was given and granted the opportunity to have a great education that allows me to take what I've learned and share it or learn more. Really grateful. DeShazer, what are people grateful for?
Technology and the ability to stay connected through this distance isolation, sorry. Being able to stay at home or be at home with family.
Agreed.
Remember that we are safe compared to a lot of the country, which is really experiencing very difficult circumstances with their living environments. Another comment that came through is family, family, family.
Absolutely. Practicing gratitude is an incredibly powerful way of coping. So people, these are some ideas on how to turn this crisis into an opportunity. And as we end here, I know you still have your middle circle left, which is empty. And I'd like to pose a question to you here at the end of our coffee chat about turning into resilientologists. And my question is the big old imagine or suppose question that solution-focused therapists play with so often. So suppose you took all the things you have written down. Suppose you took all those keywords you wrote down about yourself and your strengths, your ability to adapt, your gratitude, and all your past coping strategies. Suppose you took all of these keywords and used them in the days to come as we get used to a new normal and as we prepare for the challenges that lie ahead. Suppose you utilized and used all these keywords, these key elements and qualities of who you really are as a person. What would be different for you? And I'd like you to write that down in the middle of your little diagram. So suppose you utilized all these elements of yourself and your life right now. What would be different for you? And what would be different for people around you? Are we getting any guess? People are still thinking. If you're willing to share, that'd be great. Because remember, resilience is our ability to recover or adjust to change. Resilience is our ability to recover or adjust to change. It'll help us all make the most of every opportunity, somebody said, to build on experience, start setting smarter goals. It'll help us all become calmer, less hurried, more focused, being more present. Somebody else wrote, it would help personal and professional growth. Somebody else said, the difference it would make, it would give her more energy. And somebody else said, a sense that I have all that I need and that I can make things work and things are going to be okay. People, things are going to be okay and you can do it. The more we become solution focused, the more we create a living reality as solution focused people. As Tabasani Nkubi says, solution focused therapy is not just an approach to therapy, it's a philosophy for life. We can change the impossible into becoming people who make things possible and make things happen. I really want to thank you for sharing your incredible ideas about how you bounce back and how you cope. I'd like to encourage each one of you to look at your own inner resources on that piece of paper in front of you, to utilize it and to keep going, because we can do this and we will get through this. We will manage. Just before I go, I thought, because so many people are willing to spend such incredible time with me, if any of you are searching still for CPD points, I'd like to offer you a significant discount on my online CPD points that I offer. Take a look on our website. If you'd like to do it, you can do the 4 CPD point modules for 480 Rand. Please, if you want to do it, ignore the price that comes up. If you click on it, just pay the 480. Don't pay the price on the website. People, I'd like to thank you for joining me today, for giving me the opportunity. I see so many thank yous coming through. It's been a great pleasure.